All right. Hi, everybody. We are now ready to begin our breakout panel number 3, Optimizing Veterans Technical Skills. Looking forward to a great panel here. We have a really great lineup, and our moderator is Jim Morbach from Werner. He is Vice President for Field and Government Recruiting. Take it away, Jim.
All right. Thanks, George. Appreciate it. Happy to be here. Again, my name is Jim Morbach. I'm the Vice President of Field and Government Recruiting at Werner Enterprises. Werner, if you didn't know, is a premier logistics and transportation provider and among the 5 largest truckload carriers in the United States. And my responsibilities at Werner include our external new driver hiring program, which encompasses the field recruiting team and the relationships with the hundreds of CDL truck driver training schools located throughout the United States. In addition, I also oversee Werner's military recruiting programs and initiatives that we refer to as Operation Freedom. And I do have the distinct honor to be the moderator for today's Employing U.S. Vets virtual conference session on optimizing veterans' technical skills. We've got a great group of panelists here today with us, and all our leaders in the veteran recruiting industry, and each one of them bring a unique skill set to the table. So I am very excited to introduce you to our panelists. Our first panelist is George Bernloehr. George is a member of Booz Allen's Military and Veteran Affairs team and holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in Electrical Engineering Technology. George, can you tell us a little more about yourself?
Yeah, happy to, Jim. Thanks for the welcome. Thrilled to be a part of this panel and really looking forward to the discussion. Just a quick background on me. I'm a veteran of the Navy myself, 20 years naval aviation maintenance. So when I was transitioning out of the Navy, I took all that naval aviation maintenance experience and put in the back seat. I wanted to do something different in my transition. I was really open to exploring new career opportunities, stumbled upon recruiting, and for the most part, it's what I've been doing ever since. For 20 plus years now, I've been in the recruiting space, mostly helping men and women transition from the military to the civilian workforce. For about the last 7 years now, I've been with Booz Allen Hamilton. I started off as the client-facing recruiter. Then I became a lead recruiter in the Southeast and the Mid-Atlantic. And then I led the military hiring initiative for Booz Allen for about 3 years. A year and a half ago, I transitioned to a new team that we stood up, our Military and Veteran Affairs team. And the thing that thrills me about being on this team is not only do I still get to work close with our talent acquisition professionals on attracting military-connected talent to Booz Allen, but I also get to work on policies and changes and just different projects that have an impact on our retention as well. Working on different projects to actually grow our military talent so that they could find not just an open door to post-military career, but a long-lasting and rewarding career here at Booz Allen.
That's awesome. Man, George, really glad to have you here. Next, we have Samantha Domingo. Samantha is Amazon's military technical sourcing recruiter, specializing in AWS's military initiatives and apprenticeships. She has an MBA and over a decade of experience in human resources, talent acquisition, technology, and community relations. Samantha, please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, hopefully you can hear me okay. Is this better?
Still a little quiet. Maybe I know I believe you have a husband and kids, so if you use your diaphragm and speak loud, we'll probably be able to hear you well.
I'll pull deep from my diaphragm. Thank you so much for hosting today's session and for inviting me. My name is, again, Samantha Domingo. Most people call me Sam. I am a overseas military brat that married the Air Force. My husband retired from the Air Force about 5 years ago as an Air Force recruiter. And we experienced one heck of a transition. Having lived my whole life overseas and then, following him around from installation to installation, there were specific challenges that we faced, but nothing that quite compared to when he transitioned out of the military, because our entire family transitioned. We went through some struggles, and due to those struggles, that kind of led me on the path that I am today. Super passionate about advocating for the military community with corporations. In my current state here at Amazon Web Services, working with the Military Technical Apprenticeship Program. In addition to that, I've created with some awesome veterans and military spouses, some purely volunteer efforts to engage the community, starting with LinkedIn Mill City, and then also the Key, which is one of our most recent endeavors. Absolutely, again, honored to be here today, and hopefully everyone can hear me okay. But I will do my best to yell at you all. Again, military brat, we definitely know how to yell. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, been there, done that, understand. So welcome, Samantha, and glad to have you. Our final panelist today is Martin Laird. Martin is the Global Program Manager for Tech for Good Initiatives at IBM. Martin attended the University of Hartford, Connecticut, and has 20 years of experience in data and cloud technology. Martin, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. And thanks for having me. Great to be here with our colleagues. So I sit within a different part of the company than the other panelists. I'm with our corporate social responsibility team. And the role I've played here has been developing partnerships with organizations that serve veterans and also transitioning military into corporate America. I helped design a program I'm going to talk about a little bit. We've called it Vet 2K inside of IBM because it was purpose was to hire 2,000 veterans, which we surpassed and actually have nearly doubled in the time frame we saw it. But that's exciting stuff. We have a partnership with our HR and talent recruiting teams as well. So some of the information I'll share with you guys about jobs, about apprenticeships, and about skills and credentials that we're offering out free of charge for anybody that served.
Wow, that's great, Martin. I appreciate that, and welcome to the panel. You know, as you all just heard, you know, we have a great panel with very impressive backgrounds. So let's get this panel fired off. You know, while serving in the military, veterans learn a variety of skills. You know, that begin on day one of basic training. You know, those skills allow them to work through their daily challenges in order to perform their job efficiently and effectively. Martin, what particular technical skills has your organization found that the military provides strong training in, and in what ways do those skills apply to your organization?
Sure. Well, right off the bat, cybersecurity data intelligence was sort of the birthplace for how our work built up. So, in fact, how we got started in this, I basically at the time was a funder of 4 nonprofit initiatives, but we had an internal problem in the company, which was finding prepared talent in those spaces. Of our highest growth areas at the time were data intel and cyber. So what we did was develop what we called the Veteran Employment Accelerator, which was basically a very condensed training initiative to get people certifications and get them directly into interviewing slots for those positions, which was quite successful. So I think to answer the question, Jim, there we knew there was a strong interest of people from military background in those fields. We knew that they had a good base layer of skills. What we needed to add to that was sort of the corporate, or industry recognized certifications and some of the soft skilling and stuff too that people coming out of the military haven't been exposed as much to in industry. So that was the initial design. But that's really grown as our company is also morphed now and focus on hybrid cloud, cloud development, huge opportunity, quantum computing, huge opportunities. So you'll see this in the things I'll share with you. And at some point, I'm going to plug a couple links into the chat to 3 of our things. And one of them is our Skills Build initiative, which is a digital learning platform that is it's designed for people and free, by the way, to anybody that served, and including spouses, military family, job role-based learning paths. So if you're somebody that has a specific interest, especially in tech, we have these learning paths designed for you, and you can access them through our partners. We're working with USO and also Vet Jobs, Corporate America Support You, and Military Spouses Corporate Career Network are all partners in this. So you can access through them, and I'll paste a link that shows how to do it. But back to that question, I mean, we have designed pathways to get the skills, get the credentials, and get right into the hiring queue that seem to be making a difference. So we're pretty proud of that.
Well, you must be very proud because when you initially had your goal of 2,000, you've already doubled that. You're all doing something right. So great job. Samantha, do you have anything to add to that?
Absolutely. And those sound like great programs, Martin. I'm definitely going to have to do a little research myself. We also at Amazon and AWS, we recognize the skills and the technical skills that both veterans and military spouses bring to the table. Back in 2017, we established the Military Technical Apprenticeship Program. And just for everyone's awareness, this program is SkillBridge and Career Skills Program eligible. We essentially pay folks to learn and train in a competitive career in tech. And unlike some other programs, there is a job waiting for you at the completion of the apprenticeship, as long as you're meeting milestones and getting the certifications through the training program. Our training is broken up into two parts. We have instructor-led training, followed by on-the-job training. And at the completion of your apprenticeship, you move into the role of your specialty. These programs range from data center technician apprenticeships to software development engineer apprenticeships. We have technical account manager roles, which is something that I will be posting actually in the next couple of weeks, along with cloud support engineer roles. So I think that the biggest thing that we see is that our military community not only brings leadership skills and problem solving skills, discipline, professionalism, cross-functional and transparent communication, and the ability to communicate clearly and concisely, but they also bring process development skills, program project management skills, which help them thrive in, say, technical PM roles. But basically here we see that you bring these skills to the table. All you need are the tools and the knowledge in order to learn a specific technical trade. So that's something that we pride ourselves in, and it's actually what attracted me to coming to Amazon Web Services and working with Nick Curry and the rest of the team in establishing opportunities for both veterans, transitioning military, Guard, reservists, and military spouses. And yes, that includes us veteran spouses too, where we pay you to learn to move into a competitive career in technology. Some of the skills that are often overlooked and not really, I guess, paired up with the military community or military members when it comes to technical skills is probably technical troubleshooting. We actually have that as part of the requirements for some of our roles, along with STEM degrees or coding boot camps. It kind of varies from apprenticeship to apprenticeship. But in my experience, I found that, for example, linguists do great in software development roles. Programming is essentially learning another language. We have military recruiters that move into technical sales. Typically, they're trained in PSS or professional selling skills. I think now the Air Force does impact training, or those with intel backgrounds pivoting into roles such as threat intel analysts, cybersecurity analysts, and adopting or moving into careers in information security, risk, and compliance. One other field that I can think of is those with like electricians or HVAC backgrounds. They can pivot smoothly into data center engineering operations training that we offer, which is a program outside of our apprenticeships, but one where we definitely love to find cleared military talent to take on those roles. So I think in response to your question, there are tons of skills that the veteran community as well as the military spouse community brings to the table for technical opportunities at organizations. And I do think that there are many opportunities for organizations across multiple industries to become engaged in training their talent from the military community.
Yeah, Samantha, I agree. I really like what you do with the apprenticeship program. You know, Werner introduced an apprenticeship program 15 years ago through the Department of Labor and VA, and over that 15 years, we've really seen some great retention through that program. So great work. George, do you have anything else to add into this one?
Yeah, just real quick, and I echo that we have similar programs like Sam highlighted and that Martin hit on as well. You know, when most people think of Booz Allen Hamilton, we're largely known as a large consulting firm. And we do have plenty of opportunities where individuals can continue the mission and roll into a role, supporting the DoD, for example, that could be technical in nature. But in addition to our consulting capability, we've got work on the analytics side where we focus on bringing in individuals for data science type roles where they can focus on artificial intelligence. Like Martin covered too, we have a pretty large sector that focuses on the cyber side of the work that we do. We also have a provide service along engineering as well as the digital space in terms of software developers, software engineers. And surprisingly, we're finding more and more individuals transitioning from the military now with some of those skills, but where they come up a little bit short, maybe they have 75% or so of the skills required for an opportunity. Just like Sam highlighted, you know, we take advantage of Skill Bridge, and we bring individuals on and can take advantage of that fellowship to move somebody closer to the finish line during the fellowship to be competitive for the roles. And then in some of these spaces too, we have programs where we hire individuals. They show the aptitude, or they have, again, a large percentage of the technical skills required, but they just need additional training. So their first 8 weeks, 9 weeks or so with the firm may be in a classroom environment where we're pushing them again over the finish line to wrap up those technical skills so that they can roll into a job with a little bit more technical focus to it to be productive and grow a career here.
That's very cool, George. You know, that having that transition from either the active duty or the Guard Reserve into the civilian world, you know, military members are used to training and then performing their jobs. So I really like how you kind of link that together. So great work. Military veterans learned, you know, to adapt quickly to their surroundings. They learned to apply innovative strategies to complete their tasks or missions successfully. Samantha, what are some unexpected technical skills taught in the military that civilians typically don't think of as within Warner's or within veteran skill sets? Samantha? I think Samantha locked up. Hey, George, can you take that one for me?
Happy to, Jim. In fact, one of the things, if you don't mind, I'll take a half step back and focus on, I love the way that you framed that question, because when looking at the military in general, you know, when you introduce, you know, the military to a company out there, almost always we focus on the leadership skills, right? But the way that you frame your question, you're focusing on that learning agility piece that I've always put a spotlight on in terms of recognizing, you know, military talent as they're transitioning. Yes, you know, the leadership skills is there, and I don't want to, you know, discount that or sell it short. But the learning agility piece is where you see a lot of military connected talent excel because of the environments, you know, that we're in. So regardless of your specialization, it's amazing sometimes to see the additional technical skills that other individuals have. In fact, I recall when I was on active duty, longer than I care to admit, but when I was on active duty and in an F/A-18 squadron, you know, our avionics technicians were great at, you know, repairing computers, integrated weapon systems, and so forth. But oftentimes these were the go-to men and women that were also specialty experts at, you know, helping you with your computers, you know, software issues that you may have or so forth. So I was always amazed at the additional technical skills that an individual brings to an organization, regardless of their specialization. In fact, real quick, if I could, I remember when I was actually leading a military an interview process in Atlanta. And we had a Marine that was interviewing with us, who was planning his transition, and he was interviewing for a technical role. But the hiring manager in the interview process managed to pull from him that he also had a passion for coding and application development. And this just accelerated him to the top of the list and put him over the top. It wasn't in his resume, but it was just an additional technical skill that he happened to have that luckily the hiring manager just kind of unearthed during the interview process, and it just made him, you know, like finding a diamond in the rough. You know, that's not unusual, you know, for a lot of our military folks as they're planning their transition to be surprised by some of the additional technical expertise that they bring to an organization.
Very cool, George. I really like that input a lot. Looks like our Amazon packages can be delivered in a couple of hours, but Samantha's internet connection is not the finest today. Samantha, it looks like you're moving around back online. Can you want to put your input into that last question, please?
Absolutely, and I'm going to steal that joke for future situations like the one I'm doing right now between my microphone and my internet connection. So kind of getting back to technical skills taught in the military that civilians typically don't think of as within veteran skill sets. I think it kind of piggybacks on what I mentioned earlier. Essentially, many technical skills have measurable standards for proficiency, right? And they're accompanied by either performance standards set forth to establish your expectations as you're working in that role, or certifications that you earn. Military members obviously go through tech school, and then after they have learned that trade and gain the skills and knowledge needed, they're well off on their careers in the military. And as they grow in their AFSC or their MOS, they continue to train, right, and expand your skill set, whether it's through doing, I think it's CDCs, hopefully I remember correctly, that you're doing during your first few years in that specific specialization. My husband cross-trained a few times in his career. So he went from he was a cop, and then he moved into electrician, then he moved into Air Force recruiting. And along the way, he picked up many different types of skills that assisted him in each AFSC that he moved through, and then into his civilian career. I can't underestimate the value of technical troubleshooting skills, which can be attained if you're, say you're a pilot, you're an airplane mechanic, air traffic controller. My brother was a loadmaster. Or if you're an Intel analyst, you're going to be doing technical troubleshooting. I think the biggest hurdle that we face in this space is the ability to be able to translate what certifications you've earned and how your military experience. Awesome. Thanks, Greg. CDCs are correct. Awesome. You know, how your military experience can help support the organization. Here at Amazon, one of the things that also drew me to this organization, and I know it sounds like I'm just throwing Amazon at you, but I'm super passionate about being an Amazonian, are our leadership principles. If you were to look at the 14 different leadership principles, whether it's bias for action, insisting on the highest standards, thinking big, learning and being curious, they align really well with the military community, whether you're a veteran or a military brat or a military spouse. It's ingrained in who we are. Oftentimes I'll see folks that move into technical careers. Once they transition out of the military, they're moving into roles like, I think this has been mentioned before, cybersecurity, IT consulting, system administrators. Security risk management is a hot area as well. Risk and compliance across multiple industries is in high demand, and those are skills that are learned and earned while being in the military. I think the largest struggle and hurdle that we face is translation and educating a corporation. And the best way I feel that can be, I guess not resolved, but helped, is if we build more leaders in our community and encourage their growth and development in top companies so that they can advocate from the inside out, be it from hiring, be it from joining an employee resource group. The sky's the limit, and I think, you know, people don't realize that the impact that one person can have on many, and they don't realize the impact that they can have just by sharing their story or lending a hand once they've kind of jumped over the threshold into full-time civ life. So hopefully hopefully you heard all of that and my internet didn't cut out. But if you can't tell, I'm pretty passionate about tech being a great place for our Bell community to transition into.
That's very cool. You know, it's something that I guess kind of caught my ear when you were talking about the CDCs, you know, the course developments and always and the training and developing, you know, leaders into the, you know, organization. You know, I think that's a great transition because veterans, they're used to, if I do this, then I can get this. I keep working hard, I get here, and bringing them to transition over to the civilian workforce and develop with them. I think that's so important. So great job. Martin, what do you got to add to this?
Well, just a couple things. I mean, and not to sound too self-serving, but I do want to say the world's turned upside down over the last year, right? So many positions that we've had that held physical locations have gone remote online. That's actually a great thing in my view for people not having to be in a certain market. Also learning in credentials. I mean, there's a long debate about what is the weight of a traditional certification versus other types of credentials, and that seems to be getting more and more washed out. And not to water that down, certifications are critical, but badging can be great too, just to show exposure to different learning styles and work situations. And that's what our Skills Build initiative is offering, both of those things, certifications and badging. So you know, when it comes to people with time on their hands, this is a great thing to do, is to expose yourself to new types of learning. Project-based learning means a lot in our world to recruiters, whether it's work experience or not. So the more credentials people add, the more they sail to the top of consideration for jobs. The other thing I mentioned, I posted in these links, and not to be missed, in the military jobs page, all of the meat on that bone's at the bottom. So you can read what's at the top. It's a little fluffy at the top, but real jobs. There's 1,200 jobs today available at IBM. That's today, and there'll be more tomorrow. So, you know, if you're looking for work, you can sort by the types of jobs, the skills you have. You can complete a profile and let our AI engines notify you when something opens up with your skill set. So there's all that type of stuff. And I will tell you, I work directly, you know, with the HR teams that recruit and focus on helping veterans. So, you know, you can find me. I'm easy to find, and we can find help. If you submitted a job rec at IBM and you're a veteran, you do get precedence. We can get, you know, you to the top of the heap and help you that way. Also, our partners are great at this. So again, I mean, I'll just plug the Vet Jobs team. They're outstanding at tracking and assisting people with their skills and finding a spot for them, not only at IBM, but at, you know, many of our peers and partners. So I just feel like there's a lot of opportunity, but there's a lot of new opportunity based on the way the world's working these days. So translates really good to technical jobs. The last thing I'll mention, Jim, is the apprenticeships link I put in there. This is brand new for us. This is not specific to military or veterans, but it's a great opportunity, and it's built on this philosophy, this term we use called new collar, which is a little corny, but you know, for people that don't know that, it's not blue collar or white collar. This is sort of the modern world required skill sets, and there's a lot of that. These skills aren't taught in conventional education, right? So that's what we're trying to do here, is get people these skills, and these are trained to hire positions. There's a lot of that in software development if you're interested in that. But those are real opportunities. There's only a few on that page. Again, you got to go down to the bottom to see them, but I know what's coming, and there's you know, a list of 20 cities that are going to be offering those types of positions this year. So that's an exciting space to watch.
Right on. Yeah, Martin, I really like, you know, you talk about training, upgrade training, you know, talking about getting more credentials. It just makes you more valuable to the organization. You can fill those slots with those individuals. So great job. You know, when I look back at my own 21-year military career, I think about all the technical training, the professional development courses, the on-the-job training, and ultimately applying all of that training and experience during deployments in high-stress combat zones. You know, service members receive military training in many fields where civilians engaged in similar work are required to get certifications or credentials. And military training is often not accepted in a place such civilian certifications, requiring veterans to jump through unnecessary hoops. George, how can we bridge that gap?
Hey, Jim, it's a great question, and I appreciate you asking it. And I want to take just like a half step back. So kind of count it as, you know, a positive step in the right direction, because 20 years ago or so, when I broke into this field, oftentimes we weren't even at that point as far as, you know, the certifications or credentials. Oftentimes you were talking to companies and you're just trying to get them to open the door to transitioning military professionals. But we've grown to that point now where, okay, the door's open. So now how can we get more, you know, veterans and transitioning military employed? And as far as concerning the issue of, you know, the certifications, it's a tough one, but you have to start, you know, within the companies, and the talent acquisition professionals, the hiring managers, they're the ones that have to come together and kind of make that change. And I'd recommend a three-prong approach to that within the organization. You probably have a champion or two within your organization that has discovered, you know, transitioning military talent, and some of those with technical expertise, and the fact that they have the experience and they can do the job, even if they don't have a specific certification that the organization might be working for. So you start with those champions, and you find those individuals that figured out a way to get into that job, and then exploit those stories, right? Exploit those success stories internally, get that internal buy-in, start getting more of those hiring managers and talent acquisition professionals on board to see that, hey, they're individuals coming out with this expertise, and if they don't have the certificate necessarily to go with it, they can still be a valuable hire. They can fill some of these hard to fill technical roles. So you kind of start that way, just to kind of open it up and get that internal buy-in. We've mentioned a couple of programs, though, that you can still use that might push somebody over the top. So let's say you have an individual that's transitioning out of the military. They're planning their transition. They have that expertise that you need, but they don't necessarily have that certificate. Well, can you take advantage of a skill bridge program, something along those lines, to make that happen? And for, you know, employers that are on here that still haven't dipped their toe in the skill bridge pool, you know, this is an opportunity for you to bring an individual on in an internship type capacity at no cost to your company. It's just basically going to take a little bit of time where you can train an individual up and maybe push them across the finish line and get that certification if it's a must-have, you know, for the role. And, you know, the skill bridge program allows you to not only train, but test drive a particular individual, and that individual also gets to test drive the company, so it can make an incredible match. And I would suggest, you know, maybe utilizing a skill bridge program to help, you know, maybe with the certification process if that helps. And another thought would be kind of like what Sam covered and Martin and even I. Maybe you can open up the door to hire an individual that has that expertise, but then you start them off with a training process that will then allow them to get that certification. So even if you don't get it through SkillBridge, it can be a part of the hiring process. You have a tech excellence type program where they can move forward and get it. And I've seen some individuals, for example, at Booz Allen that have realized, hey, we have individuals that have that expertise. Maybe they don't have the certificate, so they changed. They went back and they changed the requisitions to not discount the certification, knowing that, hey, it might be an important part of the job and it's needed. But instead of having it to get their foot in the door, you may see it written as a requirement to have within 6 months of employment. So capitalize on that experience. You know, the companies that are participating in this, if you're looking to try to open up that door and get some of those hard positions filled, and maybe you still still insist that certification is a hard requirement, think about that. Think about the hire of an individual that can start with the organization. They start in a training process, and again, you put that bullet that they have to. I'm just making up the time frame, but you know, within 6 months or less. You know, part of the process would be then to get the certification and to help with a pathway that gets them there. Just 3 different approaches that I'd encourage you to, you know, focus on if you're a recruiter, a hiring manager, and you're trying to figure out, you know, how to make this technical hire work for your organization.
Very cool. I know I've been at Werner for over 10 years, and prior to that, you know, I was in the military for 21. I was a former first sergeant. And, you know, when you talked about identifying those leaders and developing them, I've also found that you develop those high performers, but it also motivates some of the other individuals to try to catch up. So I love your approach on that. So
yeah,
we've got a few more minutes left.
I was just gonna say, that's spot on, Jim. I know that both Sam and Martin can attest to this. Once a hiring manager just discovers a pot of gold or a great resource, it can be competitive, and everybody else wants to figure out, hey, what's that individual doing, and why are they having success like this, and they want to capitalize on it and make it work for them too. So good.
Absolutely, we like to push each other. All right, we've got a few more minutes left. Samantha, what do you got to add?
Yes, and my connection is being a little weird right now, so please let me know if you don't hear me. Number 1, I agree. Educate your TA teams, but also gain buy-in from C-suite, VPs, directors. It's really, really important, just like in the military, getting buy-in from your leader on down through the chain of command. It's also important to do the same in educating your leaders on the corporate side. You know, there are tons of ways, obviously. I also agree, take advantage of the DoD SkillBridge program and the Hire Heroes Fellowships. Educate the leaders to ensure their people are getting those programs and they have the availability to do so, rather than shooting that down. You know, definitely educate yourself. The first shirt's even on the program, so that way we can help our military members transition successfully into post-military careers. I also recommend taking advantage of programs like the Air Force School Program. A friend of ours, being me and my husband Ray, who's also a recruiter, introduced the ability to gain a SHRM certification. He's in Air Force recruiting. So a SHRM certification, which is an HR certification, is now covered through the Air Force School Program. Look into programs like Onward to Opportunity through IBMF. There are multiple certifications that you can go through, and they're free. You can go for PMP, you can go for CISSP if you're interested in the cyberspace. There's tons of resources. Another one that comes to mind, obviously, is Vet Tech. And I can't underestimate how amazing the USO Pathfinders program is. And they have actually expanded their services to include those that are still active duty and may not be transitioning for 5 years out, but want to start preparing. So I think the way that we bridge that gap is to educate leadership on the military side, as well as the civ side, and also ensure that you have folks in talent acquisitions and recruiters that understand what military talent means and what it brings to the table. Oftentimes, for example, military spouses, that people will see a military spouse resume and see gaps of employment. They may see you lived in Kentucky and then you moved over to California and then you're in Germany. And so if you have folks on your talent acquisitions team or hiring teams that understand that those aren't flags for military spouses, I think we'll be able to begin to bridge that gap. Again, I'm a firm believer, I don't think I said this earlier, but I'm a firm believer. If you can't get a seat at the table, you build your own. And we've done that in multiple ways, but you don't have to wait for a role that allows you to engage with military. If you're a hiring manager, hire military, speak with your talent acquisitions team, look into bringing on an HOH fellow. If you are just a regular old employee for that organization, get involved in mentorship opportunities, whether it's through ACP, Veterati, or joining The Key, which is where we highlight mentors that attend panels that my husband and I do. There are so many ways for you to pay it forward or reach back behind you to educate those that follow. And don't underestimate the impact that you have in an hour phone call on Veterati with someone that is 2 years out from transitioning and really, really wants to be, like, say, a veterinarian one day, but they are currently a loadmaster. The key is encouraging folks to start to develop their game plan well before they transition out, and to encourage the entire family to be involved and engaged in that. If a veteran who's transitioning brings their military spouse on that journey with them, and they're planning 1 to 3 to 5 years out, hey, that military spouse could find a portable career in technology and be making a nice income that then helps cushion the transition for that military member when they leave the service. So I think, obviously, I could talk your faces off about this all day long because I am super passionate, but just know that every single one of us is responsible for growing leaders within this space to ensure that we can bridge those gaps, because the more vocal we are and the more that we collaborate across organizations, across industries, and partner with these BSOs that are serving our community, the greater the impact that we're going to have, and we'll be able to bridge that gap.
Great job, Samantha. I love your passion, and you're right, it is all about the family, so great job. Martin, what do you have to add?
That's a lot of amazing advice, Sam. So I look not much, but I would just say I saw a question about mentoring in the chat. We have a great partnership with ACP. I think Sam mentioned them. That's a great organization. We have a few hundred IBMers that mentor vets through that initiative. And also through our Skills Build initiative, I put the link in, we've just started adding coaches, which is, more skills-oriented, short-term, specific type pairing, but that's just launched and really exciting. So, I mean, both those things I recommend, and it's just a pleasure for me to engage on this and help IBMers. Many of them, we have an amazing affinity group in the company of military IBMers, and they love getting involved in helping others. So just like Sam was saying, there's sort of limitless enthusiasm in getting from people that want to lend the help, and I just encourage everybody to try and take advantage of that and be persistent.
Yeah, I like the affinity group. We have a veteran resource group as well, and we tie in our associates and our drivers and our 13,000 folks throughout that whole network and that. So very important. So looks like we're up on time. Mr. Altman, are we up on time, or do we have time for anything else, any more questions? Oh, we can't hear you, Mr. Altman. This is what we've learned after a year of COVID. The technical difficulties are a normal thing in our world when it comes to working remotely, correct? I'm not hearing. Well, I guess with that, sorry, George, I'm not hearing you. I don't know if anybody else is able to, but Samantha, George, Martin, you guys all been a pleasure to be on this panel with. I appreciate everything. I love it that, I've been doing this for over 10 years at almost 10 years at Werner, and I learn something new every day. And being part of these panels, I know we've all learned enough from each other to take some takeaways, and I hope we've been a good panel for the rest of the folks to listen to. So thank you all, and have a great day. We're right on time.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. And it's a pleasure being on the panel with everybody here. It's awesome job, everyone.
Likewise. Thank you.